The story kicks off by showing Bradley, this bald, jacked dude who works as a car mechanic. Just like any other day, Bradley rolled a busted car into the garage. But when he pulled up, he saw the garage owner was practically waiting on him, which kind of threw him for a loop. Then the garage owner called him into his office. Hearing that, Bradley knew he was about to get the boot. And sure enough, that's exactly what went down. The owner told him the garage was hitting a rough patch financially, so he had to reluctantly let some workers go. But that was just a lame excuse because Bradley was a pretty tough cookie, and the owner wanted to swap him out for some guy who'd just kiss his butt. Now, since Bradley was a no-nonsense guy, he didn't even bother arguing with the owner. He just hit the locker room, grabbed his gear, hopped in his car, and quietly took off for home. And yeah, fellas, this is where the downfall of Bradley's life begins. It rides with him all the way to the end of the story, and that's when it finally wraps up. Anyway, Bradley pulls his car up in front of his place, and that's when he catches his wife, Lauren, sitting in her car on the phone with someone. Bradley gets instantly suspicious. So, to figure out the truth, he just glares at her for a minute. Once he's dead certain, he immediately walks over to Lauren and tells her to unlock the car door. His wife says, "You got off work early today." That's when Bradley spots hickey marks on her neck and tells Lauren, "Hand over your phone," but Lauren refuses to give him the phone. So Bradley snatches the phone right out of her hand, and his gut feeling was spot on. She was talking on the phone with some other dude. Bradley, totally heated, tells Lauren to get inside the house. Lauren says, "Just listen to me. I said, get in the house." Then Lauren quietly walks inside. Now, he'd just been fired a little while ago, and now his wife's side piece. This was totally pushing him over the edge. So he started taking out all his rage on Lauren's car. How? You can see it for yourself. Yeah, he was so out of control that he didn't even realize his hands were all torn up from it. After this, he calms down, goes inside, and asks his wife how long she'd been seeing the other guy. Lauren spills everything, that she'd been having an affair with someone else for the past 3 months. See, Bradley's wife had an abortion a few days prior, which had her down in the dumps, and Bradley was constantly tied up with his own work. This left Lauren feeling lonely and pretty sad at home. And to fill that emptiness, she had to turn to another man. Hearing her story, Bradley realized he should have spent more time with Lauren, and he apologizes to her for it. He says that starting right now, they're both going to begin a brand new life together. Lauren agrees. After this, Bradley tells Lauren he got canned from his job, and that from now on, he'll be working for a guy named Gil, who's a drug lord. Just hearing Gil's name, Lauren completely rejects the idea of him working with Gil and says, "You were the one who promised you'd never work with Gil." Bradley says, "Yeah, but in this situation, we can't exactly live like a happy family. We need cash to run a family, and right now, I'm out of options." He also tells Lauren he'll handle this job super carefully. The story jumps ahead 18 months. Bradley's gig now was to track down a drug courier in an apartment who delivered packets to all the dealers. After meeting the dealer, Bradley hands him his package. Once the job's done, he heads back home. And Bradley's life has completely flipped because he's raking in serious dough from this work. Now he's living in a big house and even has 2 or 3 luxury cars. And in just a few days, Lauren's due to give birth to a baby, which is going to make them even happier. But you know what they say, buddy. Bad business always ends badly. Anyway, Bradley takes Lauren into the bedroom, but just as they get a chance to chat, Gil calls Bradley and tells him to come to his place ASAP. So Bradley immediately grabs his car and speeds off to meet Gil. It's crystal clear from Lauren's face that she's not stoked about Bradley's work at all. Over here, Bradley shows up at the spot in his car after a little while. And here we meet the drug mafia Gil, the guy Bradley works for. After meeting, the two talk shop. Gil tells him he's got a friend named Eleazar who's got major connections in Mexico. He needs Bradley to do an important job for him. A little later, Eleazar also pulls up with his 2 guys, Roman and Pedro. Then Eleazar tells Bradley he needs him to handle a crucial job, and his guys, Roman and Pedro, will back him up on this. But Bradley straight up refuses to work with him because one of his guys, Roman, looked like a total junkie. He was afraid Roman would act reckless and sloppy, which could get them all busted by the cops. Eleazar defends his 2 guys, saying they're his most capable workers, but Bradley still shoots him down. Gil talks to Bradley alone and explains that this job could be really profitable for them. Gil also promises that when Bradley's baby is born, he'll get 3 months off. After thinking it over for a bit, Bradley agrees and tells Eleazar that he'll take full responsibility for this job, and his 2 guys have to follow his lead during the operation. Eleazar agrees. Then Bradley gives Roman a little pop quiz and asks him, "Roman, if I tell you to dump the goods, what are you gonna do?" Roman answers, "I'll dump them." and just like that, they seal the deal. After this, the three of them head to a harbor late at night, but before they even hop on the boat, Roman starts acting like he's in charge. Before Bradley can blow a fuse, Pedro tells Roman, we have an agreement. We gotta follow Bradley's orders. Then Bradley drives the boat himself, and after reaching the spot, he cautiously checks their surroundings and stops the boat. Next, Pedro puts on a wetsuit, gets in the water, and pulls up a box from underneath. Want to take a guess what was in that box? I'll tell you, that box was packed with $3 million worth of drugs that had been hidden there. Then they take out all the packages, toss the box back into the water, and head back to the harbor. But on the way, Bradley suddenly chucks his package into the water and tells the other two to do the same thing. But Roman and Pedro blow off his warning and end up kicking Bradley's butt instead. Bradley keeps his cool and lets them go, and he starts walking back towards the boat himself. And just as those two get a little ways ahead, the cops suddenly surround them, and a ton of bullets start flying from both sides. Bradley didn't want to get caught, so he figures he'll just bail quietly. But then he hears the cops yelling and calling for backup. Bradley gets clever and thinks he can help the police as a regular guy, so they won't suspect him. Then Bradley comes up from behind and first shoots Pedro, and then Roman too. But sadly, the police arrest him anyway. After this, he's taken in for questioning. A detective named Watkins asks him about the drugs, what he was doing there, and all that jazz. Bradley tries to throw him off the scent, but the detective suspects Bradley's a slippery fella, and the detective doesn't find any hard evidence against him. However, he did kill 2 people, and that's what gets him jammed up. Before his court appearance, he's allowed to see his wife one last time. Bradley tells Lauren to take care of herself and their baby on the way. Bradley had made enough money from his illegal jobs that his wife and kid could live a sweet life. Then Bradley gets sentenced to 7 years in prison for murder and illegal weapons possession, and he's sent to a lockup called Franklin Ergens. When he gets there, they tell him to strip off all his valuables. They even take his wedding ring. After this, he gets a medical checkup. He's sent to an upper cell with an old inmate named Lefty. There, Bradley and Lefty meet the jail's main guy, Andre, the management officer. Andre lays down the jail rules for Bradley. One of the rules was that every time the bell rings, he has to immediately get out of his cell for roll call. After this, Bradley's tossed into his cell. Inside, he starts kicking himself for ever working with Eleazar. Then, because he's wiped out, he crashes hard into a deep sleep. And when it's time for roll call, all the other inmates come out of their cells and line up, but Bradley's still out cold, sleeping like a baby. Because of this, all the inmates have to skip a meal. And when Bradley finally comes out way later, Andre completely flips out on him and says, "Didn't I explain the rules to you?" Andre gives him a final warning that he better shape up and follow all the prison rules from now on. The scene shifts to his wife, who's sleeping at home, when she suddenly realizes that someone has broken into her house. Lauren instantly grabs a gun from the drawer, and whoever these people were, they were probably there to kidnap her. And then, all of a sudden, Lauren gets zapped with a taser gun, and she collapses unconscious on the floor. The scene switches back to Bradley, where Lefty tells him that someone's here to see him. And when Bradley gets there, he meets a female doctor named Denise. Denise tells him she got a call from Dr. Placido, who's supposedly his wife's doctor. Denise tells him that Dr. Placido informed her that Lauren's having serious pregnancy issues, and he wants to meet him tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Hearing this, Bradley's a little confused because Lauren never told him about a Dr. Placido. Anyway, the next day he meets Dr. Placido. But Bradley didn't know the guy at all because he wasn't really Lauren's doctor. He was Eleazar's guy pretending to be a doctor. Then he explains that because the last deal went south, his boss Eleazar lost $3 million, which is about 270 crore Indian rupees. After this, Dr. Placido shows him a picture of Lauren, who they've kidnapped. Dr. Placido continues, "Eleazar is furious with you, and he's gonna kill both your wife and the baby on the way, but he won't do it under one condition." Finally, the two make a deal. Bradley is told he has to kill a guy who's been sentenced to life, and that guy is locked up in Block 99 of the Red Cliff prison, and his name is Christopher. Dr. Placido tells Bradley that if he goes into Red Cliff Prison's Block 99 and kills this Christopher guy, Eleazar will forgive him, and both his wife and child will be let go. Hearing this, Bradley totally loses hope. He doesn't know if he should actually do this or not. After this, Andre is walking him back to his cell when Bradley suddenly kicks off his shoes and attacks Andre, starting to beat him up. Bradley's doing all this on purpose so that he'll get transferred to Red Cliff Prison. Andre also gets enraged by his behavior and starts beating Bradley with his baton. Eventually, Bradley manages to beat Andre and breaks his arm. Then, hearing Andre scream, the other guards show up, handcuff Bradley, and take him down to a lower cell. But Bradley needed to get to Redcliffe Prison, so he starts another fight and begins beating up those 3 guards too. Seeing Bradley act this way, one guard starts tasing him, and this is where his plan pays off, and he's transferred to Redcliffe Prison as a dangerous inmate. And when he gets to Redcliffe, he meets the prison's sleazy warden, Tugs, and his 4 men. Tugs tells him, "You made the biggest screw-up coming here. Redcliffe Prison is super strict, and the security here is insane, and you're gonna get hellish accommodations here." After this, Bradley's taken in for a search. Once the search is done, he's put in Block 59 instead of Block 99. Bradley is shocked when he sees the cell. He remembers what Tugs said about getting hellish accommodations here. He sees that his cell is filthy because the last prisoner had pooped and left it there. The smell was out of control, but Bradley was ready to put up with all this for his family. Then he quietly took off his undershirt, covered his nose with it, and went to sleep. A little later, a guard knocks on his cell door and lets him out for 60 minutes of fresh air. Outside, Bradley starts looking for Christopher. Then a guy named Derek comes up to him. Bradley asks Derek, "Do you know Christopher?" Hearing this, Derek flat out says that there's not a single inmate named Christopher at Redcliffe Prison. Bradley is stunned. Then Bradley considers going over to a group of inmates who are working out nearby, but Derek warns him not to go near them because they're all psychos. But Bradley goes over to them anyway. After this, those inmates get pissed off at Bradley. Bradley starts egging them on for a fight, and here too, Bradley starts beating them up. And he was doing all this on purpose so they'd label him a dangerous inmate and throw him in Block 99, where he could knock off Christopher and save his family. Then a guard fires a warning shot into the air to break up their fight. Then, hearing the shot, guards rush over, but Bradley causes another ruckus and ends up beating up the guards instead. Finally, Tugs shows up and tells the guards to cover Bradley's face. Then, with his face covered, he's immediately thrown into Block 99, which is an underground cell, essentially a dungeon. Then, to put Bradley down, they first slap a remote-controlled electronic shield on him and dump him in his cell, where glass shards are scattered all over the place. Then Tugs uses the remote to subdue him with electric shocks. The scene shifts once again to Lauren, who's being held captive. Her condition is pretty bad. And there we also see Dr. Placido, who's taking her picture. And there's also a Korean abortion specialist, which makes it clear that they're planning to abort Lauren's baby. The scene shifts back to Bradley, who's subdued and knocked out in his cell from the electric shock. And when he wakes up, he starts screaming Christopher's name at the top of his lungs. Then the inmate in the cell next to him tells him that there is no inmate named Christopher in Block 99. Bradley is shocked to hear this. Then some guards come over, hearing him yell, drag him out of the cell, and start tasing him. After this, one of the guards tells Bradley that Christopher wants to meet him. Afterward, he's taken to Christopher's cell, and here's the big twist of the story. Bradley is totally stunned by what he sees. Turns out it wasn't Christopher. It was Eleazar and that same psycho inmate Bradley had beaten up earlier. Christopher was actually just a setup by Eleazar, so he could somehow trick Bradley into Block 99 and get his revenge. Because Eleazar lost $3 million because of Bradley. And also, Eleazar got busted because Bradley got busted. Plus, Bradley also killed Pedro, who was Eleazar's brother-in-law, his sister's husband. So now he wants to settle the score with Bradley. He'd even paid off the guards to join his side. After this, Bradley is constantly subdued with electric shocks. Then, Eleazar shows him a picture of his wife that Dr. Placido had sent. Eleazar tells him that now neither he nor his family is getting out alive. After this, he's badly beaten up, dragged back to his cell, and the remote for that electronic shield is with Eleazar, who's constantly torturing Bradley with electric shocks. Bradley is completely worn out and hopeless because all his attempts to save his family have failed now. After that, he talks to the inmate in the cell next to him and, while talking, comes up with a genius plan. He rips out the sole of his shoe and sticks it on the shield's sensor, which stops the shocks. A little later, the guards come again and take him to the corridor to see if he's doing okay. And when the guards tell him to go back to the cell, Bradley fakes an excuse and says he needs a little more fresh air. When the guards refuse to listen, they start shocking him again, but they don't realize the shield has quit working. But Bradley fakes being shocked in front of them, and seeing his chance, suddenly attacks both guards. He even kills one guard. Seeing this, the other guard totally freaks, thinking, holy crap, this guy's the freaking devil. Then Bradley snatches the key from the guard and locks him in his own cell. After this, Bradley heads straight for the cell where Eleazar is. Once he gets there, he first has to face those psycho inmates. Bradley starts brutally murdering them one by one. He crushes one dude's face with his feet, and he kills another by gouging out his eye. And he beats the third and final inmate half to death like a dog. And finally, he lands such a vicious kick to his face that his facial bones shatter. Now just picture what he's going to do to Eleazar, the guy who's about to keep him from his wife and baby forever. First, he hits him with a monster punch, slamming him to the ground. Then he grabs his phone and threatens him, telling him to call his men and stop Lauren's abortion. But Eleazar's being stubborn and refuses to listen to Bradley. Then Bradley breaks his right leg, and finally, Eleazar gives in and stops Lauren's abortion. Bradley also tells him to take Lauren safely to Gil's place. After this, Bradley drags Eleazar back to his cell and throws him in the cell with the guards. But just as he's about to slam the cell door shut, Tugs and his men show up. Tugs asks about his 2 men. Bradley answers that one of his men is dead, but one is still alive. And if I open the door, I'll kill him too. Actually, Bradley's waiting for Gil's call so he can know for sure that his wife is safe. On the flip side, per Eleazar's orders, Dr. Placido and that same Korean doctor take Bradley's wife to Gil's place and leave her safely with Gil. Dr. Placido even has a gun pointed at Gil to make sure he doesn't try anything sneaky. But as soon as those two walk off a little ways, Gil suddenly pulls out a sniper rifle and shoots Dr. Placido in the head, killing him. Then Lauren takes the sniper rifle from him and kills that Korean doctor who was there to abort her baby. Over here, Bradley gets a call from Gil, who tells him that Lauren is safe now and that he'll look after her from now on. Then Gil hands the phone to Lauren, after which Bradley says his final words to his unborn child: to grow up to be a good person, stay healthy, be smart, and live a good life. Bradley is super sad because he knows he'll never see his child. Tugs, standing outside all angry, asks him if he's finished with his waterworks, to which Bradley says he just needs 1 more minute. Then he goes back to his cell and starts mercilessly killing Eleazar. He beats him until his head is ripped right off his body. Finally, Tugs completely loses it and comes inside, shooting Bradley in the head. And Bradley dies right there. And that's where our story wraps up today. From this, we learn that sometimes life just hits you hard, just like it did with Bradley. But that doesn't mean we should choose the wrong path. Never forget this, man. Bad deeds always have a bad outcome, just like what happened to Bradley. Anyway, I'm getting too preachy here, so let's catch the next story.